Hello, hello. How's it going, everybody? Hope you guys are having a good Friday night. It's gonna be a short little stream here. If you're watching live, thank you. If you're watching the recording, thank you as well. Checking out some stuff. Hopefully my volume levels are okay. I got a couple questions for you guys tonight to start off with. And then we're going to be, at the end of the stream, looking at prenuptial agreements. And the reason is on my recent video of I got a couple comments from a gentleman, and he mentioned prenuptial agreements don't work or anything. So, all right, cool. Thanks, Mystic. Yeah, so he made a statement about prenuptial agreements, and so I just kind of, part of the channel, guys, is just, you know, researching these things, kind of looking into some topics, stuff that I don't know about, and just learning myself. So If you want to come along the journey, that'd be cool. If you have input, that'd be great. Because I'm not knowledgeable in all these things. But that is the reason why, if you're wondering what's up with the prenuptial agreements. A recent viewer commented on a video about him. The last video I did. But this week at work, I came across this video Asmongold put out. It's called Chat GPT is frying young people's brains. And I'm wondering what your guys' thoughts are, because I've been using Chat GPT quite a bit, for certain things. My wife and I have recently gotten dental work done, and you're looking up things that you're hoping that you can get answers to from your house, right? Just on your own, without, you walk into a dental or doctor's office, you got hundreds of dollars on the bill just for walking through the door, right? So, using Chat GPT for stuff like that. But I'll play a couple 15 seconds of this video quick, but it's like people are using Chat GPT for their best friend, for their therapist.
There are a lot of people that are addicted to AI now. It's crazy.
I've developed an addiction to AI. My AI is actually on my best friends list.
If you're anything like me, you use ChatGPT for everything. ChatGPT is my counselor, my therapist, my best friend.
She got a bird. Yeah.
So that's the lady.
Knows all my secrets.
Story time on how I almost got kicked out of the University of Michigan my freshman year for using ChatGPT.
Okay, so ChatGPT is down, but we do not panic.
You're literally one AI agent away from making $10K a month.
So I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that. Do you guys use ChatGPT? If you are, what are you using it for? Like I said, just trying to figure out some things, kind of the same as asking Google, right? I had a crown put on a week ago. I was having some pain on a different tooth. My dental benefits are maxed out right now. So it's like, you don't want to go to the office. And so, asking ChatGPT, like, this is the specific pain that I'm feeling, right? And, these are the symptoms. And so, for stuff like that, we're 100% cooked. AI is an interesting topic, Later on in that video, too, they say that ChatGPT isn't even always correct, right? I mean, if you think about it, I guess it's pulling information from all different places and sources, and supposedly it can misread people's inputs. I don't know if that's true, but it was saying ChatGPT is only correct like 49% of the time, and the other 51% of the time it's hallucinating. So I'm not sure about that. And then one other thing I had written down before we get to the prenuptial agreement stuff is my last video. I'm meaning to kind of go over my family tree and sort of my background. I kind of shared my POV with you guys in my last video. Being basically a product of divorce, oldest child of 3, and I've talked with my younger siblings. I've talked with best friends that have gone through. They're basically in the same place as me. Oldest child of 3. One of my best buddies, oldest child of 3. Parents were divorced. And same kind of, me and him, same type of feelings. And we're 35 now. It's like that happened, 20 years ago, and you're trying to figure out how to navigate these things, how to forgive people, what things to work on. I've never gone to therapy or anything, but, just working through these things. And so, my mom's a big supporter of this channel, and, she sent something to me and my siblings, and I'll share a little bit more in depth in an upcoming video. I'm still trying to put it together. I don't want to really like throw my family under the bus, but divorce kind of riddled through my family tree. And my mom had mentioned to me and my siblings that, you know, there were things that happened to her that she kind of quit that didn't get passed down to my siblings and myself. And and one of them was like physical abuse. And when I read that, I had a thought that, man, I almost would have took the physical abuse every day versus the divorce. And I wanted to get you guys' thoughts, what your opinions are on that. I haven't really thought it, you know, that was just kind of my first thought. Right or wrong, to each their own, right? But that was kind of the thought that I had as I read that message. And so I'm wondering what your guys' opinions are, where if you come from kind of a similar background as mine. I know, unfortunately, you know, through the 90s and early 2000s, just divorce inside and outside of the church, right, is at an all-time high. It's just been on the climb for decades. And you know, the results aren't always instantaneously clear, right? The aftermath. And so kind of wanted to get those questions out to you guys. AI, Chat GPT, where are you on that? And then yeah, the divorce thing. I guess I mean a little bit more detail, you know, for me is I was kind of, you know, living an atheistic lifestyle. God saved my marriage about 5 years into our marriage, and now, you know, almost 12 years from there, knowing like what a blessing my marriage is and how important it is to me now. The statistics are out, you know, whether you're religious or non-religious, secular. Most of the statistics all say the same thing, right? That children raised in a mother father home, married household, the statistics are all pretty much in the better light, you know, better results. That's the best results for society at large. And some of these things, man, it's like, you know, America, we like, I don't know, we have all these different thoughts and philosophies and things, and it's like our country's only 200 years old, or, you know, 300 max. And you think that cultures and civilizations have done these things for thousands of years, right? I mean, families are created from a man and a woman getting married, right? All the way back in Genesis, right? For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. So from my worldview, from my perspective, right? Marriage is a God-ordained institution. You know, I'm hoping to dig into that topic alone. Marriage. In future videos, future topics, but yeah, I mean, just wanted to put that out there for you guys. See what you thought. Divorce affects everyone, the kids the most. Yeah, pretty much. And you know, I started really young, 18. Our daughter was born, and so, you know, she'll be graduating high school in 2 years. But I got friends my age that are having little ones, and some of them are getting divorced, you know, or some of them already are divorced. Excuse me, and they come from divorce. And I don't want to point fingers, and you know, everybody's situation is different, right? You don't want to offend anyone nowadays, right? But it's pretty important to me, a pretty important topic. I'm still, like I said, I'm still trying to navigate all this stuff, figure things out, man, through prayer and wise disciple and the word, and like I said, my best buddy, my high school buddy, and my brother and sister too. I've had discussions with both of them, and it ain't good, man. It ain't good. But let me pop over to this my recent video. And if you haven't seen it, the basic rundown where I was going over a gentleman. What was that guy's channel? John Griffin. He made a video of his top 10 reasons why young men should not get married. Straight up, and I recommend to actually, I do a lot of kind of ranting in that video, guys. I go through each point kind of, and it's a longer video, but I recommend you watch his original video. It's less than 20 minutes. And when you kind of listen to him uninterrupted go through the 10 things, it's pretty clearly evident to me. It's hindsight is 20/20. It's kind of easy to say these things, and a lot of kind of just selfish statements, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. You can come up with your own opinion, but so yeah, in Marcelo Brizuela WPG had a couple of comments on my last video. And I wanted to just go over, we'll check out the prenup. We'll look at that. And kind of see if his statement holds true. But some of his other comments here, 90% is not too off. So basically, John in his video, he said that 90% of men are extremely unhappy. They're not happy in their marriages. And 90% of men would be better off not getting married at all. And I thought that was way off. That statistic sounds way off. He says, considering that 56% of marriage ends in divorce, so you only 34% in the relationship, and most of them are tied in that institution only because of the kids, religious principles, economic reasons, or afraid to be alone. I mean, those last four reasons are, pretty legit reasons, right? I mean, they're good reasons. They shouldn't be the sole reason, but they are legit and good reasons, in my opinion. And I also think that his numbers are off. The 56% I've heard inside and outside of the church, 46% overall. Okay. Yeah, so I'm not 100% sure. I think I read somewhere that some of those statistics might be off a little bit. But it's high, right? I mean, we know that divorce, like I said, has been climbing over the years, and yeah. I mean, so it's no denying that for sure. It's higher than 25%, but he also says, I'm a divorced man, and also my parents divorced when I was 2 years old. My stepdad was an awesome guy with me. The point that John and other red pill content creators are fighting for these days is to prevent and save man of the huge business behind marriage and after destroying that marriage. Lawyers are so happy when a woman decides to divorce or if she cheats her husband. For them, it's a win-win. All men, assets, and resources are destroyed in pieces and spread between a lot of people. They don't care about the couple or the kids. Sorry if my English is not good enough. My mother tongue is Spanish. So he does have some legit points in here. I mean, at the end, right? Do the courts care about the kids or the couple? I don't know for sure, right? When I was 15, my sister was 14, and my brother was 5. Now, granted, we didn't all have the same biological parents, so some of that played into where the kids went initially. And I want to think that the court had the kid's best interests in mind, but to me, like I said, like I mentioned in the video, right, to avoid divorce court altogether, just don't get divorced. Like, use all your fighting power, use the pursuit, the will, the love that you had in the beginning when you were pursuing your wife. Use that to, man, fix things like forgiveness, reconciliation. These are biblical principles, yes, but they can be used in a secular marriage too. And for the benefit of everyone, that's my opinion, that's the best way. Stating 90% of men are unhappy in their marriage is subjective. Where is that number coming from? Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, you know, it's easy to make things out of anecdotal, right? Even my views, right? Some of them, like I said, I'm a product of this. So, you know, a lot of my stuff is anecdotal, right? When I talk to my best buddy, that's anecdotal, right? You know, some right and left, some people argue about, you know, statistics and anecdotal evidence and what do we use and, you know, what are our sources and, you know, whatnot. So also too, like the red pill, you know, what he says about the red pill is fine. You know, it's fine and dandy. The prenuptial agreement, that kind of ties in, I guess, right? If you've seen the podcast Diary of a CEO, I think, there's a big, one of the biggest divorce lawyers in the United States. He's made his rounds on different podcasts and YouTube channels and stuff. He went on the Diary of a CEO. It's a pretty big podcast. It's been blown up, I don't know, the past couple of years. And I listened to that episode, and this divorce lawyer, I mean, he's a millionaire because of, you know, the industry of divorce, I guess. And so, but that's where I got my initial, in my response video, my two statements of, if you want to steer clear of divorce courts, just don't get divorced. Or what this divorce lawyer was saying was, prenuptial agreements today typically serve pretty well in their purpose. 20 years ago, I can't say, but today he said it's a no-brainer. He recommends it to like all of his clients. If you know the lawyer that I'm talking about, you know, like I said, he's made his rounds on YouTube. To his credit, I mean, he does kind of, you know, he would be out of business if divorce just stopped. But I think, you know, he does say that, I think he says that his recommendation is to try to avoid a divorce at all costs. So to his credit. Yeah, and I mean, and I've looked at some of this other John guy. I've looked at some of his John Griffin. I've looked at some of his other content, and you know, I feel like, man, this guy is a guy that went through divorce after a long marriage, and yeah, the assets got split up. You know, it is what it is, right? My mom stayed at home with the kids for the most part, and so that, you know, that my parents divorced, looking from the outside in, it kind of looked the same, right? The dad is the breadwinner. He brings home the money and the mom stays at home. And so then people think, well, she gets half of his, you know, whatever. And, you know, we'll kind of get into it more with the prenup, you know, looking at the prenup. But once you're married, what you're building together, that's together. You split it 50-50. I mean, like I said, let's just not get divorced. Let's save our marriages. And I'm hoping that, you know, we're seeing a lot of these big controversial topics in America. I think young people are starting to wake up. Statistics are starting to come out that, you know, some of these like real, you know, what people think are clear-cut issues, things like abortion, divorce, you know, we are starting to see the aftermath of these, you know, mental health is on the rise, right? Anxiety, depression. So I think young people are, you know, hopefully, praise God, a lot of younger people are pro-life. They're seeing that this hookup culture, promiscuity is a bad thing. And so these are good things for society moving forward. And like I said, kind of irregardless of your religion. But so his last comment was, prenup is not working. This is a response to what I said about, having a prenup. That is a huge lie and illusion to seduce men to fall into the trap. As soon as you have one kid, prenup is just a piece of paper. Good for you and your kids that you didn't go through a divorce process. Believe me, as a man going through that, you'll not talk in the same way. And that may be, that may be true. Good for you and your kids. I can state this now. I've said it before, and I'll kind of get into details in a future video, but my daughter does view my channel. God did save my marriage. If it was up to me or my wife at certain times in the past 17 years, we would have been divorced by now. So it is Christ, it is God that has kept our marriage together. And I'm super thankful, super blessed. I do have an amazing wife. And so I can't take any credit. All credit and glory goes to God. So when he says good for you and your kids. But prenups, are they working? Is it a huge lie? So let us check it out, man. What is a prenuptial agreement? Also known as a premarital agreement, or prenup, is a legally binding contract that couples enter into before marriage. It outlines how their assets, debts, and potential spousal support will be handled in the event of divorce or death. Prenups are not just for the wealthy. They can be a useful tool for anyone wanting to clarify financial expectations and protect their interests. So asset division, spousal support, debt responsibility, inheritance rights, future earnings. Not for child matters. Importantly, prenups cannot determine child custody, support, or visitation. These matters are decided by the courts based on the child's best interests. So maybe that's what he was saying about after a child, a prenup is just a piece of paper. So he didn't mention if he had Marcelo didn't mention if he had kids. If you're in here, Marcelo, maybe you can clarify. But legally binding, that being said, children after that are going to be considered. Legally binding. Okay. That being said, children after that are going to be considered. Well, after the prenup. Okay. Well, this is saying that they cannot determine child custody, support, or visitation. These matters are decided by the courts based on the child's best interests. So what does Google say why we should get a prenup? Prenups promote open communication about finances, creating a clear roadmap for handling financial matters in the event of divorce. They can protect premarital assets, inheritances, and separate property. Yeah, so I think a big thing, like my basic knowledge, right, was, if a guy's super rich, right, when Jeff Bezos remarries or whatever, he should get a prenup. Whatever, because what you make before the marriage is, then they can't take that, or, whatever. I think my wife and I may have had, we may have had this discussion in the family, kind of talking about prenups. My wife and I don't have one. We got married very young. That was not on our minds. But for me, it's kind of like for me, it's kind of like a foot, a foot out the door type thing. That's kind of how I see it. I understand, and again, the red pill would use this, right? hey, 50% of marriages are ending in divorce, right? So men need to protect themselves or, reduce risk. So I somewhat get the sentiment. For me, I'm trying to live by till death do us part. So that's kind of where I'm at with prenups. Prenups allow couples to customize their financial arrangements, deviating from the default laws of their estate. So also, yeah, let me bring this up too, guys. And let me know if what you guys think, if this is true or not. This is my thought process a little bit. In our culture today, as I mentioned before, individualism and materialism is kind of like the peak, the pinnacle. That's sort of our God, right? Kind of that's even some laws and things. And look, inside and outside the church, right? Divorce rates in the church are pretty close to those outside of the church. So it's hard for the church to kind of stand, on a different level on this one, because we have the same statistics. I feel prenuptial in the beginning of a marriage is a downfall starting already. Yeah, that's kind of what I was meaning about, a door outside, a foot outside the door, that's kind of my POV. But what I was saying before was with our culture, the financial thing, right? And kind of before you get married, right? This is mine and this is yours, financially, right? Businesses and assets. These are kind of the words that our culture, this is what we thrive on, right? The materialism, assets, and so, prenup kind of fits right in with that kind of mindset, in my opinion. That's kind of what I think about or how I see it. Fairness, full disclosure, voluntary execution, legal counsel. So let's see what do prenuptial agreements work in the United States. Let's just stick to our country and let's see what kind of the AI overview. Let's see. Because that's what you're saying, right? Prenup's not working. It's a huge lie. Okay. And like I said, that the divorce lawyer when he went on to the podcast, Diary of a CEO, he highly recommended prenup. So it sounded like I said, today prenup seemed to be working is what I gathered from this highly successful divorce lawyer. Or it's some sort of risk mitigation, right? Like I said, 20 years ago, I'm not sure. Yes, prenuptial agreements, also known as are generally recognized and enforceable in all 50 states and the District of Columbia. Maybe that's what Mystic was talking about, legally binding. So while the basic principle of enforcement is consistent, specific requirements for validity and enforceability can vary by state. I think also too, when you get into the actual agreements, the legal binding contract portion, what that divorce lawyer was saying was, it's going to get down to the word by word details, right? The exact details, word for word, right? Because these things get real hairy and real messy real quickly when you're talking about assets and splitting assets and money, right? And so I think they state the more specific, the better. All states in the U.S. acknowledge the validity of prenuptial agreements, recognizing that marriage is a contractual relationship. Okay? This widespread acceptance stems from the legal principle that individuals should have the freedom to define the terms of their agreements, including those related to marriage. The guy that was commenting got half his stuff taken and a fat child support payment. Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, man, my parents, that was kind of the view looking in, right? Was you know, my dad had a decent job, right? Made pretty good money, and the kids went with mom. Only one of the kids was biological to the father, so he was only paying child support for that child. But you know, again, it's hard. So yes, objectively they work. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Mystic, what's your thought on them? Do you like them? Just curious. I think my wife, you know, when we had the discussion, my wife and I, you know, she was saying that, I guess, you know, if a man or a woman builds a big business, you know, say on their own before they get married, I guess that is kind of something to take into consideration. Maybe, I suppose. That's kind of, you know, when you get into these vows, right? Till death do us part. What's mine is yours, and what's yours is mine. You know, beforehand or afterhand. I mean, that's kind of my view. But again, I understand the sentiment. You know, I think yeah, unfortunately, my kind of 30,000 foot view is just that it's bad all the time. Like, it's, you know, I don't think anything good can come from divorce, right? And so I think these, you know, like I said, some of these big controversial topics or taboo, the real touchy subjects, you know, that are hard to talk about. I think statistically speaking and practically speaking, a lot of times they don't have any benefits. But because we want everything to ourselves, we want to make our own decisions. That individualism is at the top. Let's see what else we got here. So Marcelo Brizuela, prenups today are working, I think. Again, even a perfect case scenario, like I said, things are going to get messy and things are going to get hairy. And like that divorce lawyer said, when you have a contract like a prenup, wording has to be specific. Everything's got to be specific. You know, you really, you know, and we all know these things can get real dirty, real nasty, real quickly, right? Divorce court, especially when children are involved. I guess I just had that thought. If there's no children involved, I wonder, you know, when you're just talking material things, assets, I wonder if that's maybe easier. Anything taboo we should talk about? Yeah, I think so. But easier said than done. A lot of this stuff is easier said than done, right? Even my view on marriage, guys, till death do us part. Like I said, if it was up to my wife's flesh or my flesh, in these past 17 years, we wouldn't be together, right? So, thank God we are, and He kept us. He's kept us together, and praying that He keeps us together till the end. If two people come together and one or both are already well off, then yeah, I think you're setting yourself up for a self-fulfilling prophecy, but protect what you have done on your own. Yeah, I can totally get that. Especially like, yeah, your example kind of, right? Like, yeah, if Jeff Bezos remarries, right? And even from my POV, right, it's easy to say, well, even if I had a business of my own and then I got married to my wife, like I said, what's mine is yours and what's yours is mine. You know, human nature, yeah, again, in our kind of sinful, selfish ways. And the red pill uses this, right? Like if a guy doesn't have a prenup, right, a woman's going to take him for all he's got, right? If a rich man, so let's see, potential variations of enforcement, key considerations, protection of assets, debt management. It simplifies divorce, can streamline the process. avoids future disputes. So these are kind of good things, I guess. Child support and custody. While prenups can address financial aspects of divorce, they typically cannot determine child support or custody arrangements, as these are matters decided based on the child's best interests and state laws. So proper drafting. A prenup must be carefully drafted to ensure it meets all legal requirements and withstands potential challenges. So that's kind of what that divorce lawyer was getting at, was they need to be, the more specific, the better. Yeah. But I think that's about it, guys. Appreciate those of you that joined us live tonight. It was a quick short stream. Just kind of testing things out, guys. I don't have a lot of things set up. But moving forward, as I've stated, kind of, digging into these topics, digging into scriptures, looking up these, issues, if you will, these taboo topics, I guess. Basically, guys, I think I've stated before, but my main goal is, again, being a product of divorce. If my videos help some young guy or some young couple hopefully work some things out, right? Looking at forgiveness, conflict resolution, reconciliation, what do these things look like? Then the whole channel is worth its weight. That's it. I think people keep saying this word happy when what they are looking for is contentment and not even knowing the difference. Yeah, man, or joy, right? Yeah, like happiness is what we're going for, right? This individualism, materialism, we want to be happy all the time. We don't want to suffer any pain, right? Yeah, contentment is a good word, to be content with what you have. Yeah. So yeah, that's going to do it, guys. I had those couple of questions for you. Leave it down in the comments. If you're watching this afterwards, if you're watching the VOD, not the live stream, let me know in the comments what you're doing with AI, what you're doing with Chat GPT. Oh, hold on, don't leave. I didn't want to look at this. I wanted to look at this. This is a young gentleman that is looking at nuclear energy. He's got a company that's going to be building nuclear reactors. So he was on the Sean Ryan show, and I listened to this the other night. And I wanted to play this part. He's talking about where we get nuclear energy. The nuclear energy that he's going to be using. I guess there's different types we can make it, or it is everywhere, is what he's going to tell us. So stand by.
Which is what we're really good at.
What are some of the red pills the nuclear red pills that nobody's talking about?
Yeah, nuclear is really counterintuitive. People do not understand the magnitude of nuclear. So before I talk about nuclear, let's talk about coal for a second. So coal is really cool. I like coal a lot. If you're holding a chunk of coal in your hand, you're holding a pretty extraordinary thing, right? You're holding a chunk of energy, and that's super exciting. So, if you're digging and you find a chunk of coal, what have you found? Well, holding it in your hand, the chunk of coal that fits in about the size of your hand has so much energy in it. It has enough energy to propel your body, about 5.5 miles into the sky, right?
Wow.
If you expend it.
This guy's 26 years old, by the way. Yeah, Skynet. Is that a Terminator reference, Mystic? I haven't seen that movie in forever, and I don't know, like, the whole. I was super young when I saw the movie. I need to watch it again. AI scares me. This guy's 26 years old, by the way. But listen to, he's going to explain the nuclear that he's getting for the reactors they're going to be building. And it's super promising. Yeah. Guys, I don't have a lot of money, but I am investing in nuclear energy and like aerospace stuff. I guess that's like the future. I'm not a financial advisor. Don't don't sue me, but this is I've always, I don't know a lot about nuclear, but listening to this podcast and kind of knowing, I mean, everybody's known that nuclear is kind of the way to go, but we've all been like super cautious and hesitant, thinking that, I mean, it can be dangerous, right? Like nuclear weapons and nuclear fallout and whatnot. But anyways, the specific thing I want you to listen to here is the availability. The availability, and even in a capitalist system, not one person can just hog this stuff. Now, I don't know policy wise, there's a lot of bureaucracy and whatnot, right? And what company's going to win. I understand that, but we just need a bunch of breeder reactors, the most energy dense source of power on the planet. Nuclear is the cleanest. People are just scared from Chernobyl. Yeah. And this guy talks a lot. It's super clean. And I recommend this podcast. I don't know this guy's name. Oh, Isaiah Taylor, CEO of Valor Atomics, on the Sean Ryan show. This guy he just said it. He loves coal. He loves gas and fossil fuels. He has a Tesla. So he's not just like a one source. He likes them all for different reasons. And this kid is super articulate, super smart. And kind of the TLDR on the different sources, right, is he loves gas. He loves gas because it's a liquid. And when you compare, the Tesla car, it's like 10,000 pounds versus even my V8 Mustang was like 2,000 pounds, right? The batteries that it takes to charge electric are super heavy, whereas a liquid gasoline tank is super light. So he talks about kind of the different densities and what applications you can use electric for, and what applications, there's certain applications that you can't use electric for, right? I think he talks airlines, right? The batteries are just too heavy. You can't power an airline with those type of the lithium batteries or whatever they are. So gasoline is the way to go, right? In that instance. Nuclear, Sean asks him, if a guy wants to live out in the woods on nuclear, is that possible? And this guy talks about kind of the minimum size kind of container required for nuclear, and it's not feasible, right? So yeah, dude, I definitely recommend checking out this podcast. It's super dope. This kid is super wicked smart, super articulate. He doesn't come from money. He comes from like super hardworking family. So the story's even cooler. But yeah, like I said, he loves all the different kinds of energies for different reasons, and he really articulates kind of the different applications. I didn't even think of this stuff, guys. I'm an idiot, I don't have like a brain like this guy's, but when you hear it, when I heard it, it clicks. It's like, dude, that is wicked smart. But anyways, here we'll listen to this. This is when he talks about the nuclear energy.
All that energy on pushing you up off the surface of the planet, you would go about 5.5 miles into the sky. If you put that into a car, right, which is a big heavy thing, it can take all your family and your groceries and everything, you can go about 10 miles down the road with that chunk of coal. So it's an extraordinary thing, and it served us very well as humanity to be able to do that. Now, one very, very counterintuitive fact about nuclear is that nuclear fuel is spread all throughout the Earth, right? There's a couple of caches and deposits of uranium and thorium that are more concentrated, but nuclear in general is just like spread throughout the Earth. So about 10 parts per million of every just rock outside has 10 parts per million is nuclear material. There's trace nuclear material in basically every rock that you pick up outside. Here's a crazy fact for you.
That's wicked.
So we talked about this chunk of coal that fits in your hand and how much energy it has in it. If you go outside this studio right now and you find a rock that's the same size and you ask how much energy is in that nuclear energy, the answer is about 100 times more energy than the chunk of coal.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that's what I said, man. a fistful of coal will shoot your body 5.5 miles up in the air with the energy it produces, and a rock the same size has 100 times that in nuclear energy. That's wild. And rocks. So again, like what I thought of when I was listening to this was like nobody can. So there will be companies that, you know, take the lead, but it's not like, dude, think about how many rocks are on the planet, man. Like, I've chucked rocks into the lake, dude. Like, you know, it's not like gold or even, you know, Bitcoin or whatever. Like, these things are like, what's the word? Finite resources, right? Like, dude, rocks, who, like, I don't know. I thought that was cool, and maybe my thought process isn't correct. Like Blackwater and all these dude, they can't just get the monopoly on this nuclear, right? Because there's rocks outside. Now, I suppose you could argue like it takes processes to get the nuclear, to get the energy from the rock. That's a valid point, and I do believe, yeah, companies are going to take the lead on this. But man, that's pretty wicked. You know, I was just telling my wife, like, yeah, God's always surprising us with these things, right? Like, imagine we were running out of fossil fuels, or, you know, if we can use them all. I don't know what the numbers are or whatever, but it's like, okay, the lake beach, right? You know, I live in Minnesota, land of 10,000 lakes. How many rocks do we have? It's like, dude, we'll never run out of energy, right? It's like, I don't know. I thought that was awesome.
Every single rock that you pick up outside of the studio is as if you're holding a 100x chunk of coal in terms of energy. If you take those trace amounts of uranium and thorium and you were to fully fission those in a fast reactor, you would get 100 times more energy, which is, to take our original example, enough to propel you about 30 kilometers, your body off of the Earth. So about a third of the way to space. Every single rock that you find out in the garden on the side of the road.
Wow.
So
yeah.
Nuclear is the future, right? You can look at that and say, okay,
yeah, that's wicked. Yeah, some other things. I mean, if you guys are interested, so like, just some quick like tidbits from it. China's way ahead of us on this. Conservatively, they're 5 years ahead of us. So this guy's 26, and I think he started this in his early 20s. So the Biden administration was moving towards nuclear, but he is underselling it. Oh yeah, dude. No, I mean, like I said, listen to the whole podcast. He goes in depth about like how clean it is, what's our risks, right? I mean, and Sean asked him some pretty good questions. Because, you know, they're talking about building farms, right? They're gonna build power farms, and someone is going to figure this out and get rich. No, this guy is Candy. That, like, this kid, they have private investments, so private like venture capital or whatever, VCs, and that's a funny thing of this podcast. He didn't know about venture capital. I didn't really know about it either. Like I said, he doesn't come from a rich family, so like he dropped out of high school to start. He was selling software at 16. He was like programming out of his parents' basement at 16, making over $100,000 a year, and he was just gonna sell. Why is everyone ahead of us? Yeah, I'm not sure. Mystic probably knows more, but we're like super heavy. We're heavily regulated, right? Everything after Chernobyl, right? Like it was super scary. We were hesitant. The bureaucracy and red tape. China doesn't have any of that, right? Like when it comes to clean, you know, green, clean stuff, the U.S., it's just like the Geneva Convention, right? We have to follow rules of war, but you think they're, you know, it's like in the Middle East, they don't care. China don't care about air quality and whatnot. Yeah. So, but no, so this kid, his thought process was, I can't, so he talks about there's nuclear scientists out there, nuclear class subs that we have nuclear class subs that never have to come out from where they are hiding. Oh yeah, baby. Mystic got that hidden army knowledge, baby. That we got them Navy subs, baby. Yeah. But no, this kid, he's not like an engineer or scientist. He knows that like we have wicked smart nuclear scientists out there. The problem was like bringing it to business again, like all the regulation, the fear, whatnot. People have just been against it, he talks about propaganda, like foreign propaganda in our country to scare us away, public sentiment away from nuclear. Like it's happened in the past, like from Russia, from other countries, right? But so how he was going to start this company, Valor Atomics, originally as a teenager, he said, okay, I need to, how do really rich business owners get that one business that they want if they don't have the capital to create it right away? They make a bunch of small companies, make them profitable, and then sell them. So that was his roadmap before he found out what venture capital was. like kids, the kid was wicked smart from early on. He was selling software for like hundreds of thousands of dollars in his parents' basement. He dropped out of high school and was writing software programs. But he eventually came across, venture capital, private equity, right? Basically investments, kind of like Shark Tank. I think something similar to Shark Tank. I don't know all the ins and outs of venture capital, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So the Trump administration, they just opened the doors on this like recently. So they have a prototype made up, and they have a prototype made up. They're not putting nuclear energy in it. They're gonna make, so by next year they'll have a nuclear reactor made and ready, I believe, by next year in Utah. So I had an army buddy. I just sent this podcast to an army buddy of mine that I trained with in New Mexico who lives in Utah, and he said real estate prices are still low there. So if anybody's looking to move or invest, or Eagle Mountain is right around where this company is going to be. I think they're out of California right now, but these nuclear reactors that they're going to be building are going to be in Utah. So like I said, this Valor Atomics, it's not publicly traded. I don't know if it ever will be, but I'm going to keep my eye on it for sure. But anything nuclear or like aerospace, that's what I'm putting my money in. Yeah. My Webull investment account, the robot, the AI, I have two accounts, a personal account and a robo account. The robo account's killing me. So I'm probably going to make a video about that, guys. If you're interested, they take a super small percentage. And like I said, and the crazy thing is it's all AI driven. So it's just, yeah. So anyone with the money that can get past all the red tape can build a breeder, and if they can contribute to the grid, they would be allowed to. Yeah, so basically, this guy is saying that the Trump administration, dude, like the doors are wide open. So like this guy has the money, they got the scientists, they got the engineers. Like I said, they have the prototype made up. But yeah, you can listen to the podcast. He goes over the numbers. China's made like 30 nuclear reactors in the past 10 years, and we've made 4 nuclear reactors in the past like 70 years. We were making 1 nuclear reactor in every 20 years. And the cost was way over budget. We're like billions, tens of billions of dollars. And this young gentleman is saying we should be able to make them for fractions of that in fractions of time. And yeah, farms. I mean, so, but he was saying the whole electric grid is gonna need to be updated. But that's more jobs. We want manufacturing and jobs to come back to America, dude. Trucking for America. That's this country, baby. We want jobs, man. I don't want AI. If AI does everything, we do nothing. And it's biblical, man. If you don't work, you don't eat. We're not just gonna all be sitting around in a virtual reality. I don't think, man, like it's not gonna be allowed. But yeah, we're coming up on an hour, guys. Mystic, Candy's my mom. Mystic, Mom, thanks a lot for stopping by for my first live stream. Thanks for your feedback, for coming in, checking out. And again, if you're listening afterwards, leave your comments down below. I want a reactor in my Jeep. So I don't, like I said, I think he basically says the physics behind it is just not possible. The way that you have nuclear reaction, like whatever the scientific, the atomic, like on the atomic level, there's not enough space in a small. You got to have a sphere or an oval for the reactions to take place or whatever, the bouncing arounds and whatnot. And it wouldn't work. So what he says is the smallest, and what they're shooting for is a shipping container standing upwards long ways. So like a shipping container. That's the smallest. Just from a physics standpoint. So that's why I said, like this guy talks a lot about the different types of energy and what their uses are for critical mass. Yeah, I don't know critical mass, what you mean, but he says the physics won't work. You can't have, like, Sean asked him if you wanted to go live out in the woods with your family, if you could run your property, and this guy's saying the physics, especially in a car, in your Jeep, it's not going to work. He said the physics just won't work. Maybe 100 years in the future, I don't know. I'm not a scientist, dude. I have no idea. But he somewhat explains kind of how it works. My wife and I watched that. What was that movie where we made the atomic bomb? We had all those German scientists or whatever before we dropped those nuclear bombs. The nuclear bombs. That movie, we watched that movie, and I think I remember it. They had the sphere or whatever. Mystic, all most of this is it's over my head too. But I know Mystic follows a lot of this stuff, conspiracy theories, deep intelligence, military stuff, CIA, MK Ultra, baby, mind control. But no, it's cool to listen to, and it's cool to learn. Yeah, it's part of this channel, guys. That's kind of what when I went to school, guys, you memorize information to pass a test. Once the test is over, you pass the grade. Dude, I don't remember the Chinese dynasties. Speaking of which, that's going to be a future video, I think, is, man, the stuff that we learn in public education, especially as young boys, young men, man, some of it's just useless, dude. When you think about the idea came from this young plumber. I listened to this video on YouTube from this young plumber talking about kind of the difficulties in the trades right now. So NASA uses U-238 batteries that fit in the rover and have been since Voyager. Yeah, but are those batteries, or that's not nuclear, is it? Those are batteries, right? By the way, how much how much what's the delay looking like here, Mystic? I guess I'm not sure what the delay is here. Just slap one in my Jeep and forget all this EV stuff. Yeah, dude, I mean from what I've like the little knowledge that I have on nuclear, dude, is I say just go full nuclear, like screw everything else. But this guy loves fossil fuels. Like I said, they have their application. Like you can't. Yeah, they nuclear. Oh, really? Yeah. Well, NASA's not going to give that to you, Mystic. So you can forget it. You can forget it. I didn't know that. I'm surprised this guy didn't mention that. So that's interesting that you bring that up. He made it sound like that's interesting. I wonder what the details are on that. Is it super expensive? I think maybe he did mention that there is a certain type of nuclear. So remember when he was saying that he gets it right off the rocks, there is different types of nuclear that you can make. Delay isn't bad at all. I think he did specify that there is a nuclear that we can make nuclear power, but it's wicked expensive because of the rare, like like you basically have to use like emerald type stuff. Like it's like rare. It's like a rarity of emeralds. It's like on that tier of rarity. Mystic, is that maybe that's what NASA has is something like that. I think he mentioned, I guess he mentioned a couple different types of nuclear. U-238 is rare and the delay is maybe 3 to 5 seconds. Okay. All right. That kind of sucks. I mean, hopefully I can get it just live in the future. I'll have to figure that out. But yeah, maybe that's what he was talking about. 238, U-238. I can't remember what he said. I thought it started with a B. But yeah, there's other companies looking at that. Something with uranium too. There's a company that's trying to mine uranium, like, so that's probably what he was talking about too. He said it's wicked rare and expensive. So yeah, I mean, if you got the milliones to drop that in your Jeep, then be my guest, brother. But not for this poor sap. But anyways, I don't want to keep you guys for too long. Anything nuclear is money. Yeah, this guy's saying that nuclear can be the cheapest and cleanest form of energy when it comes to like dollar per unit of energy. He's saying that nuclear is the cleanest and the cheapest. But we just have to, it's just been red tape and bureaucracy here. But when you react U-235, you get U-238 after 2 decay cycles, and it can be made in the reactor. Okay. Yeah, so maybe a little bit longer process and probably rarer and more expensive. That's probably what we're looking at. But this guy's looking at, like I said, a trailer, not a trailer, a shipping container. U for uranium. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Yep. So yeah, Sean mentioned another guy. I don't remember his name, but there's another young cat that this guy knows that's mining uranium. But this guy won't be working with him because of the type of uranium this young gentleman is going after is the stuff that you can easily get, like from the rocks and stuff. So and that's to keep the cost down. He said that even versus coal and gasoline and oil, nuclear can be the cheapest. So that's his goal, his ultimate goal is to bring the cheapest and cleanest energy. But yeah. All right. Anyways, we will cut it off there, guys. We're at a little bit over an hour. Appreciate you guys being here. If you then he's going to use 235. Okay. Yeah. Uranium 235. All right. So Mystic's got his thumb on the dial here. So then the U-238. Okay. So you react U-235, that's what this guy's getting, and then you get U-238 after 2 decay cycles, and then it can be made in the reactor. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, check out the podcast. It's worth every second. Sean's been having a lot of these younger Silicon Valley nuclear. He had another guy on, Rainmaker. They're like they're making clouds. I can't remember. They're making clouds rain. So some pretty interesting stuff. I like to listen to most of Sean Ryan's stuff. I listened to 4 hours of Gavin Newsom on there, and so it was okay. I'm not a crazy, oh, I don't like him. I listened to it. Hey, get some different perspectives. It was a lot of kind of his life story and whatnot. But anyways, yeah, thanks you guys for stopping by, my live viewers. Yeah, seeding the weather. Yeah, man, they're seeding rain clouds, and supposedly it's not affecting weather, like crazy weather that we've been having. But again, I'm not a scientist, so I'm gonna have to trust the experts. We'll have to ask ChatGPT. But if you check this out afterwards, thank you as well. Leave your stuff in the comments. Let me know about the ChatGPT. Am I off my rocker? I wanted my parents to stay married, and I would have took the physical abuse. Is that wrong? Is my thought process wrong here? Nah, man. I shouldn't say it like that. I don't want any child abuse to happen. If you went through that, I'm sorry. But this is my POV, man. My parents' divorce was a wreck on me and my siblings. My siblings, man, they are going through the ringer. And so, anyways, if you're getting married, stay true to your vows. Forgiveness, reconciliation. You guys rock. I love you. Thanks for coming by, Mystic, Mom. Catch you guys in the next one. And as always,